And welcome to our 5:30 City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Bozen?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mrs. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Foyce?
Here.
Mr. Greider?
Here.
Mrs. Jewin?
Here.
All right, thank you. Right now, if you would please join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. The pledge this evening will be led by Mayor Quentin Hart. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. You got the right angle. That flag is right on top of Councilwoman Jewin's head, so that may be a great.
Motion to approve the agenda with the amendment to cancel the executive session for this evening, and approve the minutes of the April 19th, 2021 regular session as proposed.
And did you?
Oh, I didn't see this. Oh, good grief. And add award information to item 12, stating resolution approving award of bid to KW Electric, Inc. of Cedar Falls, Iowa, in the amount of $149,650.60, and approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance in conjunction with the Park Avenue Bicycle Signal Project, and authorizing the mayor to execute said documents. Number 12, to add award information. Resolution approving award of bid to Lehman Trucking and Excavating, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $80,500 in conjunction with demolition and site clearance services, contract number D-2021-05-7P at 725 Glenwood, 663 Kern Street, 214 Cottage Street, 409 Wellington Street, 413 Wellington, 915 Linden Avenue, and 20 Merriman Street, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. And item number 13, to add award information. Resolution approving award of bid to B&B Lawn Care, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in conjunction with the 2021 mowing of city-owned lots generally acquired through Iowa Code 657A, in the amount of $8.49 per lot. Option A, lots under 1 acre, and $49.50 per acre for option B, lots 1 acre or more. Approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
All right, thank you. You want to approve the minutes too?
Yes, and add to that approval of the minutes of the April 19th, 2021 regular session as proposed.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. I am going to go out of order for the swearing in of new Waterloo fire recruit Spencer Bruce, because they are on the clock right now, and we want to make sure we can get them in and out of here expeditiously. So, all right. So if you want to join me up, Chief.
Oh, brother. Anything to save a dime.
Dime or life.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever, okay.
We need them all working.
Well, thanks, Mayor and Council. It's sure great to be back in chambers, especially for an event like this. So it's always an exciting time when we bring new members into the Waterloo Fire family. And tonight I'd like to introduce Spencer Brees. Spencer grew up in Waterloo, went to Don Bosco High School where he graduated. Right after high school, moved to Sheldon, Iowa, and attended NICC's Power Line certification program. When he graduated from there, he moved with his fiancee to Des Moines, where he worked down there for a couple of years as a power lineman. Most recently, before joining Waterloo Fire, he was working for the town of LaPorte. Spencer's got a large family. He's got 5 younger sisters, 1 younger brother. When he's not working, he likes to find that fishing hole. I think it's a secret fishing hole maybe, but with family and friends. Spencer will be finishing up a few certifications, fire certifications yet this year. He'll be attending Hawkeye Community College in the fall to receive his EMT certification. And him and his fiancee Katie are getting married in October. So that'd be an exciting time for sure. So I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, to swear him in.
Well, the fishing hole is not so secret. He's told me. And everyone else in the audience but you, but that's okay. All right, so Spencer, I'll say aye, and then you state your name after that, and then repeat after me from there. Raise your right hand. I,
Spencer Brees,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa.
the Constitution of the State of Iowa.
I will faithfully and impartially,
I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the position of firefighter
of the position of firefighter
in the city of Waterloo,
in the city of Waterloo,
Blackhawk County, Iowa,
Blackhawk County, Iowa,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Congratulations. Thanks for joining the family. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Very good, thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Congratulations. All right. I would like to call Mr. Morrissey up front with me. How are you, sir? Good. All right, we have City of Waterloo, Iowa proclamation for Bike Month. Whereas Waterloo has been designated a bike-friendly community, a complete streets community, and has adopted the City of Waterloo Bicycle Master Plan. Whereas the City of Waterloo, in cooperation with surrounding Cedar Valley communities, maintains a beautiful trail system. And whereas Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective is an active part of our growing community of bicycle enthusiasts. And whereas in 1956, the League of American Wheelmen designated the month of May as National Bicycle Month. And whereas bicycling is not only a recreational activity, but also an aerobic exercise leading to greater fitness and health, as well as an energy-saving, economical, environmentally friendly method of transportation. Now, therefore, I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as Bike Month, May 5th, 2021 as Bike to School Day, May 9th, Mother's Day, 2021 as Cyclo-Film Day, May 17th to the 23rd, 2021 as Bike to Work Week, May 21st, 2021 as Bike to Work Friday in Waterloo, and we encourage our citizens to recognize the importance of bicycle safety and to participate in bicycling activities for recreation, transportation, fitness, and improved health during the month of May as well as throughout the year. So incredible proclamation. I think on one of those days I actually do bike to work. And then with the announcement earlier by Tavis, the update, we got a lot going on in the bicycle community.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who supports bicycling. bicycling is one of those things that everybody can do for the most part. As a matter of fact, I was amazed recently sitting on my front porch and watching one of our local cyclists who only has one leg go by pedaling. It was absolutely, to me, inspirational for me to get my big butt out there and start doing some cycling again. But cycling has become such a part of this area here. I mean, look at what we've got. We've got the Cedar Valley Bike Collective. We got Cedar Trails Partnership. We got Cedar Valley Cyclists. We got Ragbray coming to town. We got the Waterloo Bicycle Works. We've got Preserve the Cedar Valley Nature Trail. We've got partners with Friends of Gilbertville Depot. One thing I do want to add is May 19th also is celebration. It's a Rite of Silence. Roger White puts that on every year, and it's in commemoration and a memorial to all those cyclists that have lost their lives cycling in Iowa. And I would be totally remiss in not thanking Todd, you, Mayor, and any past mayors, engineering, and everybody who's been part of making Waterloo an area where people want to come to bicycle. And we've got over 100 miles of bicycle trails, and it's something that we should be proud of, we should tout, and we should put out as a promotion for people to come to Waterloo. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, and thank you so much, Mr. Morrissey, for your advocacy and your efforts and setting the example about us needing to get out and exercise a little bit more on our bikes. So thank you, sir. Right, National Police Week. Is the Major Leibold here or the Chief? All right. City of Waterloo, Iowa, Proclamation, National Police Week, Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America has designated the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week. And whereas the law enforcement officers are guardians of life and property, defenders of individual right to be free men and women, warriors in the war against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whereas it is known that all too often police officers are killed in the line of duty nationwide. Our community joins with other cities and towns to honor all peace officers everywhere. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week. And I call upon all citizens to honor and show our sincere appreciation for the police officers of this city by deed, remark, and attitude. I also call upon all our citizens to make every effort to express their thanks to our men and women who make it possible for us to leave our homes and family in safety each day, and to return to our homes knowing we are protected by men and women willing to sacrifice their lives, if necessary, to guard our loved ones' property and government against all who would violate the law. Chief, incredible proclamation, but tell us what's going on.
National Police Week is normally a week where we would join hands as police officers across the nation and meet in Washington, D.C. Obviously, still in the throes of the coronavirus, we're having to have modified ceremonies. We will have a ceremony here in Black Hawk County that we'll announce by way of the Facebook site and other social network sites. But I'd like to say this, it's in particular a emotional time for some police officers and myself. I've lost 8 friends, personal friends, in the line of duty, and 1 officer in the line of duty during my time in another city. So I can tell you that this isn't just a time to appreciate those that are here. It is one where we hold in great esteem those who've lost their lives in the service of citizens across this country. And those names on the memorial will never be forgotten. So please, if you do see police officers out there working, just give them a thumbs up, a high five, a hello. because they need it right now. It's a very trying time. So thank you all for the proclamation. And again, I'll share this with the members of the department, and they thank you as well.
All right. And Chief, I just want to say, you mentioned it's very turbulent times that we live in. Relationships are fractured. Police departments are having to be accountable for the actions of a few people that have made terrible mistakes. But I just want you to know, and on behalf of this council, we appreciate and we celebrate all of your efforts. And God bless the work that you all do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And you go get a mask. All right. Todd Deerfield, or can't tell with the mask on.
We got a couple other people from the Audubon Society here too.
All right. If you want to acknowledge our incredible guest.
Todd Deerfield, Waterloo Leisure Services. And we have some members of the Audubon, the local Audubon Society, Prairie Rapids Audubon Society with us today. And the mayor is going to be reading the proclamation for International Migratory Bird Week. And after you're done with that, the Audubon Society would like to tell us a few of the items that we have going on in the next week or so.
All right, thank you. City of Waterloo, Iowa proclamation. Whereas nature lovers around the world are celebrating International Migratory Bird Day on May 8, 2021, which supports our moral responsibility to protect bird life. And whereas Waterloo, having been officially recognized as Iowa's first community to achieve sustained flight status from the Bird Friendly Iowa program, has taken steps and will continue to take steps to improve conditions necessary for the health and welfare of our nesting and migratory birds. And whereas Waterloo is taking measures to educate and engage people in birding and wildlife conservation. And whereas over 300 migratory and resident bird species use the various habitats in Waterloo for feeding and nesting. And whereas birds and bird-related activities have a significant economic impact. And whereas promoting abundant, sustainable bird populations and healthy habitats benefits our world's biodiversity and human society. Now, therefore, I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim May 3rd through the 9th, 2021 as International Migratory Bird Week. So, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the proclamation. And I'm Tom Schilke from Prairie Rapids Audubon. This is Jim Welch. And we thank you for your commitment first to being a bird-friendly city and the first to achieve high flight status. This is the 4th year now, and we appreciate the leadership that Todd and Paul and the department have given the community in protecting and enhancing our bird species and habitats. This week, starting today actually, we're keeping track of birds, all the birds we see in the area as part of a fundraiser. Wednesday, we have a field trip over at Hartman Reserve in the morning for anybody at 8:30. We do these each week. We have another field trip on Friday, and then the International Day on Saturday, May 8th, we do a big fundraising day at Sweet Marsh, and anybody is welcome. During this year of COVID, we see more people using the parks, bicycling, hiking, and observing just in their yards what's going on, and particularly habitats and birds. And we encourage people to plant native plants and to do things like keep cats indoors and such to protect our bird species and other animals that use the city, our pollinators and such. And Jim has 10 simple things you can do to help birds in your community. And anybody who would like one, you can sure keep that. And in our website, Mark and contact information is on the card and also on the back if you'd like to follow us throughout the year and things that we do in our community. So again, we thank you for the commitment that Waterloo has made. You've truly been a leader. Cedar Falls has finally got their status this year as a bird-friendly community, as Denver and a small town of Tripola. So it's we're getting the ball rolling here statewide. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is yours?
That's fine. Thank you. But Todd, thank you, and Leisure's efforts too. I mean, you guys are incredible working with the environment, working with nature in our local community, and thank you for both of your efforts as well, and the designation and making that happen. So, blessings to all the work you do, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, it's now time on the agenda for public comments. Ask everyone to come up, state their name and address. And do we have anyone, Kelly, that has signed up?
David Dreyer has signed up to speak.
Okay, Mr. Dreyer, you have 5 minutes.
David Dreyer, 3145 West 4th Street, Waterloo, Iowa. My first comment is back a bit. A Dollar General was turned down because of traffic congestion by the previously approved theme park where there's no congestion. You picked a winner and a loser, and you're doing it again. A car wash and a man who wants to revitalize downtown. I have no skin in the game, as they say. However, you guys talk as though you want Old Town improved and then close the gate before the race starts for this man. You talk to want to bring people back to Old Town, yet keep pushing the city south. At one time, there was talk going on about pushing the city to the north. What happened to that? Sounds like no one is interested in working with this person on any level of development. We can spend $1.2 million to tear down a hotel and sell it for $1 to the right person. But won't even work with this gentleman. Detailed plans have gone bad. Example, Rath Packing, administration building. But we can't even give this man a chance. Mr. Anderson speaks on positive benefits like population, tax base, investments in older neighborhoods. I don't know where this gentleman is proposing these changes, but it sounds like neighborhoods like that. At one time, it was suggested to start some sort of incentive where there isn't a Cura or a Clura, so they offer $5,000. I understand. How much have we given Hawkeye Building Trades so to let's not shoot this guy down and his dream at our own detriment. To me, this is a man who loves Waterloo enough to put his own money into it, some of his own money anyway. Give him a chance, even if on a smaller scale to start. According to Sunday's Courier, we have 220 homes eligible for incentive, yet poo-poo this man's efforts. I don't agree with that. I think you need to rethink this about whether you're going to work with him or not. And the other thing I'd like to have done is to separate on the resolution to approve the following: bills payment number one, bills payment, finance committee invoice summaries, etc. I have some comments I'd like to make on that. Thank you, Council and Mayor.
Wait, say that again.
Consent agenda, I think.
The A, resolution number one, Bills Payment Finance Committee invoice summary report. I have some comments on the summary report.
All right. Right, is there anyone else that would like to address the council and the mayor?
Mayor, members of the council, Forrest Dillevue, 1725 Huntington Road. I would like to thank you for reopening this meeting so that the people can hear. I have heard more complaints of people out there that couldn't hear, talking through masks, talking on whatever devices you use at home. We've lost a lot of our viewing audience out of there. And I hope that we can gain them back because they are supporters of Waterloo. Hopefully we can continue this and make them happy and let them comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council and mayor? Going a second time.
Motion to close public hearing, receive comments, and place on file.
I think we have some comments by council.
Oh,
So,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Morrissey.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And first thing I wanted to talk about, and I talked to Randy Bennett about this somewhat, but I got other, complaints about this, and it's the street sweeping. And there's a question out there as far as why we don't have that second street sweeper following the first one to make sure that the debris from the first is not or is picked up. There's a question about how many street sweepers we actually have that work, how many are broke down, and when will they be fixed. There are some rumors going around that we've lost at least one other, maybe two mechanics, and with the budget that was passed that eliminates for 1 year a mechanic, where does that leave us as far as fixing and taking care of our vehicles and other equipment? And if there are people that have left in those necessary positions, are they subject to hiring delays? The second thing is something that I've been approached about, and that is, why does Waterloo only have one bottle and can redemption center? I know the Hy-Vees and Walmart have limited operation, and they don't take care of bottles at all. And what can be done to rectify that for those that pay those nickel deposits, but then or end up either throwing them out in the trash, which goes to the either to the recycle center or goes to the dump. Next is, and we talked briefly about this and mentioned it about gravel on the road and the concern that cyclists, both motorcycle and bicyclists, have on that issue. Next is there's been talk of hiring a rental inspector or combination inspector. When do you foresee, or is that actually going to happen? I've talked about and asked that Park Avenue be reconstructed consistent or at the same time as we're having Park Avenue Bridge replaced. Going down that road, it's in very bad shape. I don't understand why, when we're going to have that bridge closed, we aren't moving construction of Park Avenue forward to get that so that avenue is a complete beauty to anybody coming into town with a new bridge. I know that Councilman Amos, before the meeting, had talked about that he'd received a complaint about Newell Avenue and its condition between Newell and, I believe it was North Barclay Street. And then next is I appreciated seeing a certain person's name on the consent agenda for a public hearing, but I'm very disappointed that Mr. Willie Outlaw has been left off of this. And this is a guy who's been working 4 to 5 years, at least, on taking care of a couple properties next to him, making sure they're mowed, they're shoveled, trees cut down, and all that. I thought we had an agreement back last August for that to be taken care of. And I also feel that he should be on the agenda, his agreement be on the agenda. I see it's not there this week, but I just ask you, Mr. Mayor, to make sure that's on the agenda 2 weeks from now. And then finally, the mow-to-own policy became effective with the resolution that was passed in August of 2019. But as of yet, I have yet to see a copy of the mow-to-own policy. Matter of fact, I don't think it's even been written yet. But if you want some help, I'll write it up for you in about an hour, Mr. Mayor. And finally, I'd just like to say thank you for the beginning construction on that Highway 63 rec trail, completing the rec trail between Conger Street and Parker Street. I really appreciate that, and thank you for getting that taken care of. And it looks like we hope that it might be done, maybe even possibly before Ragbri. But I know, and again, I thank AECOM and everybody involved, you, Mr. Mayor, for making sure that that lead in to Church Row is completed by Ragbri time. And it sounds like from talking to Mr. Schindel that most of those routes, those recreation trail routes, are going to be taken care of, or at least there are going to be areas that are passable for bicyclists come Ragbri. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bennett, could you talk about some street sweeping? And could you give us a current update on where we're at with our fleet maintenance too?
Randy Bennett, Public Works Division Manager. So I guess starting off with the street sweeping. Typically, in the past, we would have 2 sweepers that would kind of follow each other. Since we've kind of gone away with using the salt sand in the winter months, we don't necessarily need to do that. Some of the complaints for which I know you probably received had to do with the fact that when the sweeper was going, it was kind of throwing material that was to the other side of the sweeper. That's more of an operator, an adjustment issue that needed to take place. So that's where typically it's because their RPMs are too high, so the broom's throwing it too far, and then they have a skimmer arm on the side that more than likely isn't down all the way. So like I said, that's not necessarily an issue with the 2 sweepers more as it is just making sure that the employees are not doing that. So that's something we're addressing there. When it comes to, as far as the mechanical of the sweepers, yes, we did have a couple of them that were additionally down right now. Usually we'll have 2 sweepers and then 2 trucks. So now what we're doing in an effort to be more efficient, those 2 are split up kind of generally in the same service area and then utilizing 1 truck for the hauling. So it just makes us more efficient to break up the staff to do more there. When it comes to staffing for the mechanics, unfortunately right now we are down 1 position. So it is something that we're going to be submitting to get it into the personnel rec committee. And then hopefully once that gets through, hopefully that's not impacted by the hiring delay. That is one that is under the general fund area. So that's whether or not you choose to hold that one back or not, that would be kind of where that's at. But that is a position for which we'd like to still move forward with trying to get it replaced. And then I believe the other one that you were talking about was the spray patcher. And that's been kind of a discussion I know I've had with a couple of council members. And as far as the frequency when we can get back to trying to get some of that gravel swept up. So it's a very it's a very good tool for our toolbox as far as making repairs. It's kind of in between the crack sealing where we try to get just those reflective cracks that come through until we get some of the larger repairs to where we can do the hot mix. This is just where we get some of them smaller joints and seams are really starting to fail where we can try to seal those up. The thing with for this process is it's emulsion and chips, for which you kind of have to, looks like salt and pepper when you kind of get it in there to kind of get that sealed, then you have to top it off with some clean chips on top. The downside with that is that leaves that little bit of residual. We do need the traffic to kind of help work that in, so then that way it doesn't track, because we don't want that emulsion to kind of bleed through and get up on the vehicle, so we need to do that. It is something that we are trying to work better at to get it swept up right away. As the temperatures do get warmer, though, it is something that we will need to kind of evaluate that to make sure that we don't sweep it up too quick, because like I said, it's all about the bleeding, and we don't want that to get through to get up on the vehicles. It does take a little bit of time. Some of our areas, we have a little bit more joint and seam kind of deterioration, especially right now we're focusing on the Ragbri right. So downtown is an area that we are doing right now. We kind of have our third shift is we've got a couple of employees that stepped up to help with that. So we can really try to focus and seal up a lot of those, because like I said, for the bicycles, it makes it a little bit more dangerous for them. On the normal road portion, it's not, for vehicles and even motorcycles, it's not so much, but you get some of them skinnier tires, it could potentially be an issue. So like I said, we're working right now, try to get that sealed up, but then we'll get the sweepers back to get that cleaned up, and then we should be good to go.
Mr. Bennett, just really quick, the hot patch, when are we going to start doing a more permanent fix?
Yep, Aspro just opened back up, so that was kind of one of our hang-ups here the last few weeks. Unfortunately, we were not able to get hot mix, so we were kind of limited to what we could do for some of our permanent repairs. Right. So now that they're open back up,
so people will see us out on the streets putting in the hot patch, more permanent fix to the weather conditions with our roads. So, and then with regards to vehicles, are we 100 hours behind? Are we ahead? Are we doing preventative maintenance? Where are we at with
so that? I will say after the restructuring and kind of where we are at, for the most part, we're keeping up with as far as preventative maintenance and that through the departments. I know when I first started, we had, and I'll use the fire department for example, we had some equipment that had been in there over a year. That was, and to me, was extremely excessive. That should never actually get to that point. I think after we kind of did the restructuring, the other thing that we really focused on is we started cross-training, because in the past we used to have a fire mechanic and we'd have somebody that work on automated trucks and then somebody that work on street equipment. We kind of got away from that. We started cross-training more. So then that way at any given time, if we need to get more individuals to work on, if we happen to have more fire trucks down or automated trucks, that they're able to do that. So by cross-training and being able to do that, we've gotten a lot more efficient. Wow. So as far as like vehicles being down, you're always going to have breakdowns, but as far as anything is for a prolonged period of time, that's not necessarily taking place.
So I remember there were hundreds of hours of backlog, and over the past couple of years, I want to thank you and the staff for all you've done to move us to where we're at today. You get a lot of the criticism, but you don't get a lot of thanks. So make sure you thank the crew and the folks within the department for all of their efforts. Mrs. Klein, do you have a question for him? Because Mr. Morrissey had another comment, and I was going to have Noel respond. All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Noel, with regards to, I think it was Mr. Outlaw.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. I had Mr. Outlaw in my office earlier today to go over the last parts of the information, so we should have a development agreement with him to set the date of hearing on the next council meeting.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Klein.
No, actually, that's all I wanted to know. I wanted to get this over with and hear about Mr. Morrissey's issue.
All right. So, council, any other comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Greider.
So a couple of things. One, today at noon, the Small Business Administration rolled out their Restaurant Revitalization Fund. This is funding to help restaurants across America as part of the American Relief Act that were so hard hit by COVID. And we all know restaurants have really struggled, and the hospitality field in general has struggled. So this fund is available for any restaurant through an application process. They can apply at restaurants.sba.gov, and it will walk you through the whole process. Funding is available until it runs out. So I would strongly encourage any restaurant that needs those funds to look into the Small Business Administration's Restaurant Revitalization Fund. The second thing is that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And 1 out of 5 Americans struggles with mental health. And that number has gone up since the COVID-19 pandemic for very obvious reasons. And so I'm very proud of the work that the Waterloo Youth City Council is doing with Blackhawk Grundy Mental Health to raise awareness and help support their mission to provide mental health for people, because mental health is just as important as physical health. I know Break the Stigma is the hashtag that they're using this year, and I think that's very true, that we have to be as concerned with our mental health as well as our physical health, because those two go hand in hand. And we've seen this last year, what long-term mental health degradation can look like. For those individuals who don't think that there is any hope, who are perhaps contemplating some choices that would be irreversible, I do want to let you know that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. That line is staffed 24 hours by trained mental health providers. We just want everyone to know about that in this time when mental health has been very hard for people in this month where we're raising awareness for this very important part of healthcare in our country. Thank you.
All right, and I just had 2 things just quickly. Just for folks, I know all of us, especially me, are looking at mass fatigue. We are currently having conversations with Blackhawk County Public Health and thinking of ways that we can take a look at our current mask mandate, because it needs to be updated. You know, at the time, there was no vaccinations written within there. So we are every day looking at different changes that we need to make to that, bring forth for your approval. So we are consistently looking at that. And number 2, they ask questions about what keeps you up at night. And for me, there's a number of things, but one is the focus and the concentration on housing and housing enforcement. I put together an internal task force to take a look at, do we have ordinance that we need? Do we have policies? And what are other communities doing? And then we also simultaneously have been working with the University of Iowa and doing a couple studies to take a look at that and take a look at how we're working with our landlords. We've also been meeting with Landlord Association and having some conversations about what we can do. We've been taking a look at an overall central city concept, which Vanderwall and Associates talked about previously on their update meeting for the city. But housing keeps me up at night, and the condition of our housing and the quality of life that our residents are dealing with. So Mr. Morrissey did mention the possibilities of an inspector. And so we've been trying to take a holistic look at the systematic decline of housing and the relationships. So we are going to be presenting to council our findings and what we've been seeing and how we plan to approach it. But I think it's important not to just throw water at a grease fire, right? We need to make sure that we can make systematic change to help the residents in our community and examine how a house goes from new to a dilapidated state. So please be patient. We will have conversation. We will get your input, but we're trying to do some of the systematic legwork to find out what's really occurring. And so that position is not one that's in the coffers yet. We are working on it, and I believe we may have found a funding source for that as well. So it's exciting, and we will be having more conversations about this in the near future. Also, last but not least, our 2030 vision plan. Of course, we're working with De Novo, and they need stories about being in Waterloo and about what Waterloo truly means to me and how much They love the community. So if you go to our website, do we have a Vision Spark where you can go to the website and upload your stories? But we need about 10 stories for our Spark event. So contact Wendy Bowman in our communications office, 291-4301, if you have a story or a conversation about Waterloo and your love of Waterloo.
Motion to close public comments, receive the comments, and place on file.
Second.
That motion has been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
I need to ask a question of our city clerk. Do I need to remove 1A1 since Mr. Dryer wants to address?
I would say just make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 1A1.
Right, okay. Okay, make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 1A1, approve and place on file.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to also remove 1A13 and 1A14, just for brief discussion.
All right, thank you.
13 and 14?
Yep. All right, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, make a motion to approve 1A1 bills payment.
Motion's been made, oh, okay.
Second.
In the
Better say the number.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. For April 26, 2021, in the amount of $3,131,801.04. And for May 3rd, 2021, in the amount of $1,145,193.20.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Mr. Dryer.
Now he puts it up.
David Dryer, 3145 West 4th Street, Waterloo. My concern about the bills payment finance committee invoice summary report. Item number 4 and 6, the amount of $22,897.19 for the fire department, and the amount of $39,578.36. It's for a power load cot loading system and power ambulance cots. Has anyone asked if we really need these? Has anyone asked what's wrong with the present cots that we have? And this will only be provided for one ambulance. Also, number 12 on the sanitation, $50,400 plus $500 shipping and handling for 1,080 RFID tags for rear loader containers to apply GPS location to each garbage cart. Are we losing a lot of carts to theft or damage? So those two are big expenditures that money could be used maybe somewhere else in their department. And I'm just wondering, what is it, a want or a desire? So
Right.
those are the questions I have.
Thank you. Chief Treelor, life safety things, did you take into account whether or not these life safety items are needed?
Pat Treeler, Fire Chief. In regards to the power cots, we currently have 5 ambulances, and we're at least 2 of the power cots short. So I like to get new equipment in as opposed to implementing it across the entire fleet to see if it's needed and worthwhile. So that's what we've done with the power load cots. They're very effective. There's less patient drops. There's less back injuries for our paramedics. In regards to the power load system, we're going to try one. It is definitely a need It's a system that's used by a number of different services, and it actually takes the cot into the ambulance, so the crew is not lifting, using their back to get it in. Like I said, many services have this type of setup. We decided on one to give it a shot to see how it works with our equipment and how our personnel likes it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bennett, DPS.
Yep, Randy Bennett, Public Works Division Manager. So what this is part of our new routeware system that we're going to be, it's part of our new routeware system that we're getting ready to implement here. So on all of the eventually on all of the carts, there will be an RFID tag. All the newer ones, it's actually molded right into them. The older ones we have to put on that. One of the issues for which we currently have is sometimes when a cart comes up missing, for whatever reason, or their cart gets switched out, so they end up with a smaller cart than a large one, it's almost impossible for us to be able to find that cart. And so that is an issue. And over the last, not quite 10 years, we have spent over $750,000 on carts. So yes, carts are very expensive when we have to go out and replace those when they come up missing. We do have individuals that have multiple carts as well too. So this will hopefully be able to, once we get this new system implemented, we'll be able to tell what the size of cart and if it's at the right location. If for some reason they have more carts or the cart is not at the right spot, this new software that we have will let us know. So then that way we'll be able to go to the exact location where it's picked up and then remedy that situation. So it is something I can tell you that what we have on right now, we are going to need some more of these RFIDs. To the exact extent on what that's going to be, I don't know yet, but I do know that we are going to have to acquire some more here in the short term. And it's not only going to be just on refuse carts, it'll be on all of our yard waste carts as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Moore, so we have a motion for 1A. Madam Clerk.
In a second, yeah.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Morrissey.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution setting the date of public hearing as May 17th, 2021, to approve the sale and conveyance of city-owned property located at the southern end of Fairfield Street in the amount of $1 to Todd J. Borweg, including a development agreement for infrastructure extension and new infill housing, and instruct city clerk to publish notice.
Second.
You want it? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I just bring up a few points that I hope get answered between now and the time that we have the public hearing. And first is, does a developer have proof of financing? Next is, will those potential houses be conforming with the neighborhood? And then finally, in the improvements by developer part of the development agreement, I'd just like to have answered what it means in the second line when it says, quotes, arranged to be installed infrastructure for public water service, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. I'd like to know exactly what that language means. So those three questions answered for the public
That's for
hearing.
both of them?
That's for number 13. Number 14 I haven't read yet. So.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning and Development Director. So yeah, we will look at his financing package as part of the conveyance of land like we normally do for the development agreements. Number two, yes, we'd like to see the design of the homes as well as part of the project. So we can definitely share those with council as they're coming in to fit in with the compatibility of the neighborhood. You think your third question was on the improvements by the developer. It's basically talking about how right now the street just ends, and so he will be required by code to install the infrastructure necessary to create 5 lots down there, which would be a cul-de-sac design. that meets the subdivision ordinance and fire codes, as well as water and sewer extensions to serve the homes.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify that third one, is the language says what you just mentioned, Mr. Anderson, but also then it adds or arrange to be installed. What does that mean?
Pretty standard
Arrange.
language, meaning that he can either do it himself or he can hire it out to have someone else do it.
So it's not that I'm going to put that in 5 years from now?
No.
10 years from now?
No, it'll have to go in as part of the
Okay.
permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution setting a date of public hearing as May 17, 2021, to approve the sale and conveyance of city-owned property located at the south end of Fairfield Street in the amount of $1 to Gary D. Stevens, including a development agreement for a new garage, and instruct city clerk to publish notice.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Mr. Morrissey?
Mr. Mayor, I'm only drawing attention to this, that the development agreement in number 3, it refers to first home as far as what's being put there, and I just want to draw attention. I don't think that language is meant to be there because this is a garage, not a home setting, and I just want to make sure that that development agreement is apropos to what Mr. Stevens is putting in there.
All right, so noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me see. GCP, can we take 2 of these since they're the same, and then we can open up questions on them? All right.
Yep, that's fine.
Number 2 and 3, please.
Mayor,
Mr. Foyce.
I would like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is for general obligation bonds GCP 2, the issuance of not to exceed $700,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, and GCP 3, the issuance not to exceed $700,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the hearing is open for GCP 2 and 3. Are there any public comments? Any comments on file?
No comments on file.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $700,000 general obligation bonds.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council, questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 4, please.
Mr. Mayor.
We gotta get the,
Do I need to say GCP 3, 2, and 3? Sorry.
Oh,
did you say 2 and 3?
I did.
she read, when in the first part, he read the original, he said GCP 2, and he said 3.
Yeah, I got
So
that
do
for
we
the
have to
hearing.
do it at the end? If
Yeah,
we've already
'cause
done it at
there's-
the beginning?
Yeah, you need to read all the resolutions. I've got a lot of paperwork I gotta fill out for the bonds.
Okay. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $700,000 general obligation bonds. That's for general obligation bonds GCP 2 and general obligation bonds GCP 3.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 4, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication and notice of public hearing on general obligation bonds, ECP-UR, for the issuance of not to exceed $1,300,000 general obligation bonds for essential corporate urban renewal purposes.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to comment during this hearing? Going a second time. Are there any comments on file?
Nope, no comments on file.
Mr. Morrissey?
I'd like to make a motion to close hearing.
Second.
That motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $1,300,000 general obligation bonds.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
And Mr. Greider?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Council. Number 5, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Amos.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is for Traffic Control Center Room Remodel, Iowa Department of Transportation, grant project number STP-U-8155, parentheses, 755, parentheses, -70-07.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to comment on a traffic control center remodel? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution confirming approval of plan specifications, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You want to read that into the
Yeah,
record?
Mr. Mayor, apparently there are no bids received.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Number 6, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
just real quickly, what happens now with that?
Randy, what happens next? Or Randy will do it. I mean, we've hooked up the cable box before and that type of stuff.
Randy Bennett, Public Works Division Manager. Yeah, so where it's at right now is we've got it back to the DOT, and we've got to also work with the federal government because it's part of, because there was a federal grant towards that. So whether or not it'll end up getting rebid or what the process, where it's going to end up going with that. So it'll get rebid, but it just, at what time, I'm not sure yet.
All right, thank you. Number 6, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Klein.
number 6 is a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing for the fiscal year 2021 Asphalt Overlay Program, contract number 1022.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, any comments on file?
No comments on file.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the City Council on this item? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Klein.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
The motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution confirming approval of plan specifications, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, and instruct the city clerk to read the bids.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk?
Okay, we had one bidder. It was Aspro Incorporated of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount was $1,741,016.76.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a resolution approving award of bid to Aspro Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa in the amount of $1,741,016.76, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance in conjunction with the fiscal year 2021 Asphalt Overlay Program, contract number 1022, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take number 7?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file approved publication notice of public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 levy riprap spraying contract number 1047.
Second.
That motion has been made with second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the hearing is now open. Do we have any comments on file?
No comments on
Any
file.
comments on from the public about rip wrap spraying? Going a second time?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made with second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution confirming approval of plan specification, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council, any questions on this? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
And Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, and instruct city clerk to read bids.
Second.
Motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk?
Our one bidder was Landmark Turf Services of Dunkerton, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their total bid amount was $44,055.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving award of bid to Landmark Turf Services of Dunkerton, Iowa, in the amount of $44,055 in conjunction with the fiscal year 2022 levy riprap spraying contract number 1047, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take number 8, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Amos.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is for fiscal year 2021 Shawless Road reconstruction, Hess Road to Highway 218, contract number 1020.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, are there any comments on file?
There are not.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this particular item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution confirming approval of plan specifications, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council, questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I had some questions for our city engineer on this item.
All right, what's your question, sir?
Well, the first one would be on the estimate to be determined,
All right.
on the bid estimate. And then the second one is this it's a 1-year project, a 2-year project, and how this project is going to proceed, where it starts.
All right. Yes, sir.
And then, and how, if it is a 2-year project, are we going to be working with the Birches to try to have a seamless opening in the spring of 2022?
Absolutely. Mr. Knudsen, the estimate, the length of time for the project, and how you're coordinating with the Birches.
Jamie Knudsen, city engineer. The estimate for the project was about 9.6 million, so the bid came in about $1 million under, which is a good thing. As far as the stages, we are going to start, if you've been out there on Shawless, they have a construction entrance going into the theme park right now, which is just east of the bridge over Sink Creek. We're going to start at that point from their construction entrance and work to 218. That phase is what is going to be done this summer. That is the piece that we have been working with Eric and Gary Birch to make sure gets done this year so that we are out of the way for their grand opening next spring. The rest of the work is still dependent on a DNR permit that we are still working on to do the middle portion where the new bridge is going to go. And then the other part of that is we have to make sure that we get that first phase completed before we move on to any of the other phases, because we still have to keep access to not only the water park, but the Isle of Capri. So we've been in touch with all three entities to make sure that everybody is on the same page with the staging. Everybody's happy with the staging at this point. Now we just need to pray for good weather this summer so we can get this thing built, so.
And you guys have done some incredible work to try to secure other funding sources to be able to pay for this project. We know what it's going to mean to the entire city, to the Cedar Valley, and you're in regular contact, to Mr. Bozen's questions, you're in regular contact with the, okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, and instruct the city clerk to read bids and refer to the city engineer for review.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Sorry, it's not in my minutes. Let me take a second.
Here.
Sorry about that, everybody. We had one bidder. It was Peterson Contractors Incorporated of Rhinebeck, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount was $8,639,212.15.
You know, it's always concerning if you hear the city clerk say, ooh. All right, number 9, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Klein.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing for the sale and conveyance of city-owned property located at 928 Mulberry Street in the amount of $2,730 to David Deeds and approval of a development agreement.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, any comments on file?
No comments on
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment to this particular item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution, make a motion adopting a resolution authorizing the sale and conveyance of city-owned property to David Deeds in the amount of $2,730 generally located at 928 Mulberry Street and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving a development agreement with David Deeds for constructing a fence upon the lot and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
All right, that motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take number 10?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file approved publication notice of public hearing on the sale and conveyance of city property located northeast of 712 West Park Avenue in the amount of $1 and approval for or of a development agreement with $5,000 in infill incentives to Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, are there any comments on file?
There are none.
All right, we do have Miss Alley in the audience. Can you come up, please? It's great to hear positive news. So if you want to tell us a little bit about this.
Allie Parrish, Executive Director of Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity in Waterloo. So this is going to be for one project that we're going to be starting a new construction in the Church Road neighborhood. So we've been doing work in the Church Road neighborhood for quite some time, but we're excited to be able to continue that work and expand it. So.
And Miss Alley, could you comment about, this is with regards to Church Row. Could you expound on what just happened with the John Deere
Sure. So we were very fortunate to have received a fairly significant $2 million grant from John Deere to continue and expand on our work in the Church Row neighborhood. So that's going to include significant amount of housing work and then some other work to do with neighborhood resident engagement and coalition building, neighborhood planning, other things as well in the neighborhood. So that'll include new construction, but we'll actually be putting a bigger focus on whole house rehabs and owner-occupied repairs in the neighborhood. Church Row is an incredibly dense neighborhood, and there's not quite as many vacant infill lots throughout as some neighborhoods, and a lot more structures standing still. So we're going to be focusing some new construction, but also a lot more on looking at the vacant and blighted homes and hoping to do a lot more whole house rehabs in Church Row as well. So we're really excited.
This project is going to be incredible. It's the first of many projects that you've already been doing. We celebrate John Deere's support in addressing and working with us to address something that keeps us both up at night as well. But also, if this project plus is anything like the work that's being done in the Walnut area, which is a model of what we're doing here. We've seen over about $17 million of economic development with public-private partnerships, and you all are leading the way and setting a greater standard that we need to have for our community. So I wanted you to come up so I can personally thank you publicly for the incredible work and just starting the change that we need in the Church Row areas and around this community. So we appreciate and applaud your efforts. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Would it be okay to ask?
Yep.
Parrish? Ally, I was just wondering, the house that will go up on this lot, will that be similar to the ones on Allen and West Third as far as the two-story nature?
It's going to be a two-story, but we're going to be bringing over from Walnut a new design that we started over there. So it will be a little different design, but it will be a two-story design.
Okay, thanks.
And Ally, really quickly too, for this project and a couple of the other ones, can you name the school partnerships potentially you'll be working with in this area?
Let's see. We are talking to the Career Center. Is that what
Waterloo
you're
Career
talking
Center.
about? Yeah, so we've started conversations with the Waterloo Career Center about hopefully working together on some workforce training through the high school or whatever. So, and we've been expanding partnership with Hawkeye on their We Build Waterloo program, and they're going to be starting to build one of our new construction homes in Walnut this June and expanding on that program too. So, and then Cedar Falls CAPS program, we're going to be starting with in the fall to be doing workforce development as well with high
So are you
schoolers.
working with Momentum or not? That's
No.
different. Okay. So you're, teaching livable skills to young people and those that are reentering the workforce as well in these projects, which is so crucial to our success of our community. So thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right. You can have a seat maybe. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make unless there's somebody else who's going to talk.
No, we're good.
Oh, okay. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution authorizing the sale conveyance of a portion of city-owned property generally located northeast of 712 West Park Avenue to the Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $1 and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Grider?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving a development agreement with Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity for the construction of a single-family home with $5,000 in infill incentives and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Grider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 11.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Amos.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is an exchange agreement and assignment of real estate contract with L&H Farms Limited for the acquisition of property in Blackhawk County in exchange for property in the San Martin TIF district in the amount of $1,336,269.46 for 28.499 acres and up to $10,000 in closing costs.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, are there any comments on file?
There are none.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this particular item? They're lining up. I think, Noel, is this the last one?
I beat you to the jump, Forrest, sorry. David Dreyer, 3145 West 4th Street. On April 19th of this year, I sent an email to all of you regarding the continued purchase of open farm ground in or out of the city limits from L&H Farms. I read this has been extended by council from the original agreement with no one putting in an exit clause. If we still had our previous population, this might make sense, however, we don't. This next 28.499 acres figures out to $46,888 per acre. When a search of the website indicates an average of $9,600 to $11,400 per acre for open farm ground, sold in the last few months of 2020. CSRs have no value as they do when buying farm ground, when land is purchased for business, industry, or homes. Why are we trying to push the city farther away from the downtown than out of other conversation? You approve funds to revitalize downtown. As seen in the packet, there are a number of housing plots which would indicate more push to vacate downtown. What and why? I understand TIF money is being used for the purchase. However, what improvements could be done with that amount, $1,336,000 plus, for what is already hurting on the north side of Highway 20? Remember Crossroads Mall? And the other comment I would have on that is, to me, it's a frivolous use of taxpayer money. Could be used better somewhere else. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Dillevue.
Forrest Dillevue, 1725 Huntington Road. I would like to know how many more purchases we are obligated to make from L&H Farms.
The last one.
This is the last one? Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds good to me. And there again, you know, who established the value? How do we know the value? How do we know we're getting our money's worth? As the people that pay for it, the taxpayers of Waterloo, how do we know that's a fair price for that property? Who has told us it is worth X amount per acre out there? I'm talking about the acres we're buying. I think we need to know. Someone needs to appraise this stuff before we buy it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Mark Rollinger. I've been before you before on L&H farm matters in the city of Waterloo, and I want to start by thanking the city at the request of Mr. Hollis. It has been a good public-private partnership. And some of the questions that have been raised by Mr. Dreyer and Mr. Dillevue have their answer lies in negotiations and an agreement that was reached with the city back in 2010. And just to refresh your memory, and many of you weren't around when that all happened, but
oh my gosh.
You were.
The city approached L&H Farms. This was not something that L&H Farms initiated. In fact, L&H Farms was content to farm that land and would be content to farm that land today. I think Mr. Anderson would tell you that this parcel, in the eyes of the economic development people, presents an opportunity for the city at some point to pitch an economic development opportunity that can't be pitched by a lot of communities because they don't have the ground on an interchange that would allow them to bring in what I guess I would call a big fish. I think Mr. Anderson would tell you, I've maintained contact with him over the years. There's been several opportunities. I think he would tell you that many of those are accompanied by confidentiality agreements. The city has been very close and in the running, but this land is not set up to be a replacement for development that would occur downtown. This is development that would likely involve one very big industrial complex, a couple big users perhaps. And in terms of how did we get to the price, just most of you have read my letter, I'm sure, and are familiar with this process, but for the public to get an answer to that question, when the city approached L&H Farms, we sat down, and we've had a good relationship with Michelle, we've had a good relationship with the city attorney. We negotiated at that time based on the relationship between the ag land value and the commercial value, what it took for L&H Farms to agree to give up this ag land. And that really drives it. It's 3.21 acres of farmland that has to be exchanged for an acre of development ground. And it fluctuates with the corn suitability rating of the agricultural land we're looking at. If it had been up to Lane Haven Farms, we would have done the whole thing 10 years ago, but the city needed somebody to partner with them and work on this over time as TIF funds would become available. The city couldn't take down that entire parcel at once. Well, that requires a lot of coordination because not every single farm that comes up for sale works in the L&H Farms farm operation. And L&H has worked very good with the city and said, hey, are you guys ready? Because there is one on the market that has come up. And so what drives this is the original formula that was set up and then the ag land value that we have to pay for that farm. Once we strike the deal with the farm, we then come to the city and say, hey, we're ready to go. Do you have the TIF funds to do it? So that's really what drives this. And it's not as if you can just take any farm anywhere and put it into the Lane Haven Farms operation. It takes the right farm at the right time. And we are at the end of this. And it has been a good partnership. I know it's still bare ground, but I think at some point, the city will be credited with a lot of forward-thinking vision for a development that I think eventually will pay off. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I wanted to give you a little history. Hopefully the public that's watching gets a little bit of a bigger picture view of how we got here.
Yeah. And so what we'll do, we'll close out of this public hearing, and if council has questions for you, we'll be free to ask during their time as well.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else from the public want to make comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing closed.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving an exchange agreement and assignment of real estate contract with L&H Farms Limited for the acquisition of 28.499 acres of land in Blackhawk County in the amount of $1,336,269.46 and up to $10,000 in closing costs in exchange for property in the San Martin TIF district, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? All right. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around. You don't have to leave, though. It was just about to get started. We're about to get warmed up now. Number 12, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Amos.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is for the demolition services contract number D-2021-05-7P, located at 725 Glenwood, 663 Kern, 214 Cottage, 409 Wellington Street, 413 Wellington, 915 Linden, and 200 Merriman Street.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, any comments on file?
There are none.
Is there anyone? There's no one out there. So, any public comments? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution confirming approval of plan specifications, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk? No, we need to do the confirming approval of plan specifications, so that's a roll call vote. That's what I'm here for.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Voice?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file and instruct the city clerk to read bids.
Second.
The motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk.
We had one bid. It was from Lehman Trucking and Excavating Incorporated of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount was $80,500.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, a resolution approving award of bid to, what was that name again?
Lehman Trucking.
Say again?
Lehman.
Oh, Lehman Trucking, in the amount of $80,500 in conjunction with the demolition of, demolition and site clearance services, contract number D-2021-05-7P at 725 Glenwood, 663 Kern Street, 214 Cottage Street, 409 Wellington Street, 413 Wellington, 915 Linden, and 200 Merriman Street, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
how fast are they coming down?
Depends how fast we can get this approved, but
On the 10-day DNR, you gotta file, and then it depends on the weather then.
A month, maybe?
They gotta work with all the utilities for the.
the cutoff, water kills, so,
A month?
Hopefully they'll be in, yeah.
Okay, good.
all right. Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Voice?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 13, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Foyce.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing. That's for the 2021 mowing contract for city-owned lots generally acquired through Iowa Code 657A.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the mowing contract? Is there any public comments on file?
No comments on file.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
The motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming approval of plans, specifications, form of contract, et cetera, and authorizing to proceed.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Voice?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
And Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file and instruct the city clerk to read bids.
Second.
The motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk, bids.
We had one bidder, it was B&B Lawn Care Incorporated of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount for option A was $8.49, option B, $49.50.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving award of bid to B&B Lawn Care, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in conjunction with the 2021 mowing of city-owned lots generally acquired through Iowa Code 657A in the amount of $8.49 per lot. option A, lots under 1 acre, and $49.50 per acre for option B, lots 1 acre or more, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
And Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take 14, 15, and 16, please?
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Jewin?
Resolution number 14, approving a memorandum of understanding with Iowa Northland Regional Council of Governments for preparation of a Revitalize Iowa's Sound Economy, RISE grant application for the 11th Street Bridge reconstruction project and authorizing the mayor to execute said document. And you said how many more?
15, 16.
Okay. 15, resolution approving amendment development agreement with Prairie Legacy Ventures LLC, selecting the option to purchase in their reversionary wording to pay City of Waterloo $209,088 and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. And number 16, resolution approving a development and minimum assessment agreement with Club Car Wash Waterloo LLC for the construction of a 5.5 square foot, 5,500 square foot car wash located at 1009 East San Martin Drive, 1-year property tax rebates at 70%, and a new minimum assessed value of $1,100,000, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Are there any questions from anyone in the audience about this item? Council questions 14, 15, and 16? Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
All right, thank you. 17 and 18, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Klein?
Number 17 is resolution approving the request by Midwest Development for the final plat of Audubon Heights 7th Edition, a replat of Audubon Heights 4th Edition located south of 1747 Thrush Drive, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. Number 18 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with I&S Group, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $108,200 plus reimbursable expenses up to $5,000 in conjunction with the Five Sullivan Brothers Convention Center Plaza renovation and memorial project, and authorizing the mayor to execute said document.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Any comments or questions? Council? I just want to say, once we have been working with the Sullivan Brothers family, having some really engaging conversations, and once that portion is completed, we'll be bringing to you what they came up with, and you guys are going to, Council, you'll be blown away by what you see is going to be done with the family.
Good.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
All right, thank you. 19 through 21, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Morrissey.
I yield to my younger
Thank you.
Fight over it. Fight.
31 this week. So, Mr. Mayor, I make the following motion to approve the following resolutions. 19 is a resolution directing the advertisement for sale of $14,370,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2021A, setting sale date as May 19th, 2021, and approving electronic bidding procedures and distribution of preliminary official statement for the sale. 20 is a resolution directing the advertisement for sale of $8,610,000 taxable general obligation bonds, Series 2021B, setting sale date as May 19th, 2021, and approving electronic bidding procedures and the distribution of preliminary official statements for the sale. And 21 is a resolution approving a professional service agreement with H.R. Green, Inc. of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in an amount not to exceed $761,963.40 in conjunction with the fiscal year 2021 Shawless Road reconstruction, Hess Road to Highway 218, contract number 1020, and authorizing the mayor to execute said document.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Any questions about these items? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein? Yes. Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bose?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion been made with second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.